Welcome back to the channel. Our painting gnome got everything painted up for us, so now it's time to throw our door back on for the last time, throw our fender on, and get the outside of it ready for him to paint. So let's get started.
We're going to throw the door on first, and for the last time, I hope. We'll latch the back of it. Gotta get our fingers out of there. Then we can put our bolts in. Those are the self-aligning ones with the shoulder, so there should be nothing to line up. Everything should line up when we tighten it. Wanted to get that out of the way because it's just sitting on a stand in the corner, taking up a lot of room, and hopefully it's a little bit safer on the car. We'll snug the bolts up first so that they can center themselves, and then we'll tighten them up. And we'll plug in our harness and snap the grommet into our A-pillar. Now we can change our smashed sensor and bracket. We'll unplug what's left of the sensor. It still works, but there's nothing to really hold it on anymore. We need to bend over our bracket a little bit so we can see the nuts to get it off of there. Toss that in a pile. And then we can put our new sensor and bracket in and bolt it in. That was our free bonus with our A-pillar. We did get some slightly less valuable bonuses with our A-pillar, like these little clips for our washer hose, so we might as well change those. And one more up in the front. Flip our hose back in it. Oh no! Okay, now we're down another clip. Alright, clip number 2. A little tear in our hose. We're going to need to fix that, or we're going to have washer fluid where it doesn't belong. So we'll just grab one of these handy rusty razor blades sitting on the ground and cut right through where our hole was. Hey, that cut suspiciously quickly. Apparently the rust helps it cut. We got a little connector. It's got some barbed ends on it. We'll just slide the connector in there and clip it back into our clip. And break our clip once again.
Can't win.
I should have known. It's a little thicker with that connector in there. I'm out of clips, so I'm going to go repair another hole that I found in our washer line. This time we're going to cut a little section out of it because it's actually sliced on an angle, so we want to get rid of all that. And we'll slide our little connector in there, just like last time. And my somebody's been here before solution was just to zip tie that hose to the other hose. That should hold it in place and give the next guy something to complain about when he takes it apart. And we'll put our little filler in there. There's some little Christmas trees on the back you just push in. And I'm tired of standing on one leg and holding the door open with my foot, so we're going to put the door check in so I don't have to do that anymore. Even though we're going to have to take it back out again to put the weather stripping in. Well, at least unbolt the part that goes with the A-pillar. But I won't have to hold the door open. Put our fender up here. Start all of our bolts. Gotta use the caveman method up by the windshield with an open-ended wrench. Not enough room in there for anything else. The gap looks pretty good at the top, so we'll tighten up the bottom. Gotta put that bracket in. Probably should have put that in first, but I forgot about it. Tighten up the front and tighten up the top. And our gaps are looking pretty good. I hope so. They fit before it was painted. The door's adjusted properly. Didn't think it was going to change. And our hood gap looks pretty good. Okay, the side I fixed looks pretty good. No little problem on this side. Our gap is too wide, but it's not wide because the hood's too far away. It's because the edge of the hood is too far down. It's much lower than the fender. There's really no adjustment for that, so we're going to make our own. So we got our stand set up to get our Scott powered hood straightener to the right height. We're just going to roll the edge of that hood up. Hopefully not too much. It's going to be a lot harder to push it down than it is to pull it up. We'll close it up and make sure it's right. I'd rather have to go a little bit more than have to go back down, because then we're going to end up denting the outside of it. But it looks like I got it on the first try. It probably got damaged in shipping, probably got dropped on that edge. Must have been shipped by FedEx. Now we can start tearing it apart since everything lines up. We'll pull our headlight out. Then we're going to pull this bumper bracket out. Just turn a little Phillips head looking clips about 90 degrees and they'll unclip. Sometimes you got to push the back of them to help them out. And then pop it off of there. Now we can pull our nameplate off. Just slide our spatula behind it. Hopefully not scratch the paint. All we're really going to do is clear this fender. There'll be a little paint at the top where it's blended, but basically it's just going to be cleared. And we'll use our magic eraser to take the rest of this glue off of here. And of course, this magical tool is available in my Amazon store. I'm going to pull our cowl screen extension out of here. There's one little push pin in there. Pop the center of it up and slide it out from underneath the fender. And now we got to pull our wheel liner out. There's just a bunch of little push pins all the way around it. Pull all those out of there. We'll unclip it from the other liner and start pulling out the Phillips screws that are in the back. Now we're going to pull the front of it down, at least as far as we can. There's a few clips in the back that we couldn't get out. You have to reach in behind them to get the clips out unless you want to break them. And I'm too poor to be buying new clips, so we're going to take our time and save them. Pull the little molding at the bottom of the fender off. There's one push pin in the bottom. And just a little wiggle and pull and those clips pop out. And now we can get our pick in here and release those clips in the back. And now our wheel liner comes out of there. Yay, more two-sided tape. This is holding our moldings on. So we're going to slide our spatula along the edge, right on the body line. Nice and convenient. I'm sure my painting gnome is going crazy thinking I'm going to scratch the paint. There's a couple clips in there, so we'll reach in there with a pick and unclip them. At least the first couple that are in a different position. The back two both slide off the back. So we just slid the molding off and then we can take our clips off independently, which is done by just rotating them. And then peeling the gasket off the door and sticking it back on our clip. And clip it back in the molding so it's ready to go back on. Rotate that back one out of there. And we'll just retape our molding and stick it on. We have to pull the top of our door gasket down so that they have a way to mask it off at the top. We don't have to pull the whole thing off, just this top edge. And now we can take the molding off at the bottom. It's got some two-sided tape that's supposed to be all the way around. Bottom is all eaten away by the sun, I guess. I don't know. Or they didn't stick it on at the factory. So we're just going to have to cut the top of it. And release all the clips. And we'll wiggle the back one off of there. And take those off by twisting them out like we did the other molding. One of the clips up in the front is broke off the molding, so we're going to have to repair that. Just a little epoxy, glue it back on. It'll be fine. And no, I did not break that. That's from when the front door went underneath it. Now we can use our magic eraser to get rid of all the two-sided tape that's left on our door. And now we can pull our door handle off. Pull off this little plug in the back so we can get to the screw for the cap. And we'll loosen it up. That was tightened by Hercules. Every one of these was. It's good that he found work. We got our cap off and slide our handle back, but we can't quite take it out of the door.
Stupid fancy door handles.
We'll just pull this gasket off of here. Curse the Honda engineers and head inside. So in order to get that plug out of there, we have to pull the door panel off. Had they not had that plug, we'd be done by now. Just pull the screws out of the grab handle and our door handle. Take our door panel off of there. Disconnect our handle and our one plug for our switch. And now we can pull our water barrier down slowly so we don't tear it. We can reach in there and unplug our door handle. There's a sensor in there so that when you have the key fob in your pocket and you touch the door handle, it automatically unlocks it. Fancy cars.
I win.
Cause me problems. Our car is stripped down and ready for the painting gnome, so we're going to go ahead and start changing some of our airbag parts. First, we're going to try our luck taking out these little cargo hooks. These are also tightened by Hercules. You can get them to break free, they come off of there, but they use a lot of Loctite. Just pop the little cover up. Try loosening this one up. And we need a little more weight on it, so we'll move over here. Still not coming out, so we're going to try tapping it, loosen it up a little bit. Still not giving in. If you didn't know, the end of the screwdriver is made to put a wrench on it to give you a little bit more leverage. Depending on the brand, sometimes it's the handle that you put the wrench on. Now we're going to try that. If that doesn't work, we're going to give up and we're going to cheat. Recalculating. Cheating it is. Close up that little cover and pretend like we didn't even try to loosen that. Pull a little cover out behind our rear seat release. Get to our screws behind that. A little wiggle and pull. And we can pull the lower trim panel off the upper trim panel. We'd be able to take it out, except we can't get those screws out of the bottom, which isn't a huge problem. We're just going to work around it. We can pull the upper trim off of there, reach back there and disconnect our speaker, and we'll set that down. Pull the trim across the top off. Pull our upper quarter trim down a little bit just so we can get that piece off of there. Sneak it out of there. We'll pull our B-pillar trim, lower trim off of there. And we can pull our upper trim off. And we'll pull our A-pillar trim off of here. Unplug our speaker. Now we can start unbolting what's left of our airbag. Parts we didn't cut. The metal clips get bent when the airbag deploys, so they don't unclip like they're supposed to. Requires a little bit more wiggle and pull. Pull our sun visor down. The clip just twists out. There's a tab in the back of the sun visor you push in, and rotate it back. And it pops out of there. And just one little plug. It's too small for my big hands. Pull the other side out, same way. Pushing that little tab on the back side. You can see it from outside the car if you look. That's what I'm doing. Instead of guessing where it's at. And rotate it. Then we'll unplug our little connector that was designed for ants. We can pull the cover off around our rearview mirror and pull the rest of it off. We can disconnect all the wires that go to the camera and the rearview mirror and all the other nonsense up there. Wiggle and pull the headliner down. Now we can pull our grab handles out of here. Stick a screwdriver in there and pry one side of the clip out a little bit. Hold that out. Pry the other side out. Same thing on the back. Pop those out of there. Now we can see the little metal tabs. Squeeze them in. And release our handle. Now we have to do that same process 3 more times. They go in much easier than they come out, which is all the manufacturers care about. And there's some Velcro and little clips that hold the headliner up, so we'll pull it down a little bit. We'll disconnect the wiring harness in the back. There's one on each side. Now we need to pull the washer hose off of the headliner. The harness stays with the headliner, but the washer hose, unless I want to take apart the liftgate, doesn't. So I'm just going to unweave it from the wiring harness and set it off to the side, and then as I put the new headliner in, I'll go ahead and clip it back in. Pop this last clip out of our headliner, and we found another plug back on this corner, which is a lot harder to get to since we didn't pull that upper trim off of there. Oh, look at that, another harness in the front. Now we're going to squeeze our headliner out of here. It doesn't fit so well. There's going to be a little bit of folding, a lot of dragging, maybe even some tearing. It would fit a lot easier if the windshield was out, but I'm not paying to have that removed. Or if we could take those quarter trim pieces off at the bottom. But since I didn't bring my impact driver, I'm out of options.
I think I get the new one in that way.
I need a break from headliners for a while, so we're going to go ahead and change our curtain airbag. Unbolt our way across and unclip it. Go ahead and unplug it before we forget. A couple more clips and screws. And we got all of it out of there. In pieces, of course. Now we can set our new one up there. This airbag is an OE surplus, direct from Honda. The extra parts they had laying around after they were done building all the cars. Makes you kind of wonder, are there cars running around with no airbags in them? Or did they just order too many? The world may never know. You just slide the little clips in. That holds it in place, and you can put the bolts in. Plug our airbag in so we don't have an airbag light. And continue clipping and bolting all the way up to the front. There are a couple little Christmas trees on there that hold the little plastic pieces in. And now we get to have fun with our headliner. Got a brand new headliner because they're actually cheaper than used ones. This one was about 500 bucks, which is actually a pretty decent price for a headliner, but when you figure it's got an enormous hole in the middle of it, it seems kind of overpriced. So once we get it out of its packing material, we're going to set it in the other side of the box. We need to switch everything over. That $500 only buys you a headliner. It doesn't buy you any of the wiring harnesses or anything else. So we're going to peel our wiring harness off, unclip it all. It's held on with aluminum tape that you can reuse. So we're just going to take our time, peel it off very carefully, and it'll stick right on our new headliner. If you leave the aluminum tape attached to the wiring harness, there's little indents in the back of the headliner where the aluminum tape should be. We're going to start attaching our harness up in the front here where there's two little clips and you can't possibly get it wrong. And then we'll just work our way around, attaching all of the little aluminum tape right to its little indents in the headliner, and that'll make sure that it's in the right place all the way around. There's a little clip on the outside edge here, and we'll continue sticking all our tape on. And it does clip into the plastic that runs along the side. There's a bunch of speakers up there, microphones, lights, all kinds of stuff up there. Now we can start popping all the covers off for our speakers. You get to these from this side. We can release the tabs and pop out our overhead console. More speakers, one for each door. And now we gotta flip it over and unbolt all of our speakers. I think they're all the same, but I don't want to find out the hard way they're not, so I'm going to put them all right back where they came from. So as I take them out, I go set them on the new headliner. I'm going to pop our dome lights out of here, pop the cover off of there, and there's one screw, and it slides off the tab in the back. Put our light back in our new one. Slide the tab in, screw it in, and then clip the cover down. Do it again for the other side. Now we can start putting our speakers in. Set them in there and screw them down. And I'll make sure you set them in the right way. And now we can just snap our covers on. There's one tab in the front and then one clip. Just slide the tab in and snap it in. We can snap the overhead console back in there. And we have our microphone, and I can't figure out how to get it out of here, so we're just going to cut it out of there so that we're working with a much smaller piece and we can examine it a little closer and re-engineer it. I'm just going to cut the rest of our headliner out and see if we can figure out what's holding it together. Now we got to get this cover off of here. Trying to figure it out. I don't see any clips, so I'm going to take it apart. There's a couple of clips to take the back of it apart. Pop the back off. A little circuit board. Looks like every single listening device you've ever seen in every movie. Big Brother is watching. We'll put that back together. We don't need that part. We need to get this little cover off. And now that we have the rest of it apart, we can see how it unclips. So just open up the tabs a little bit. Pop the little cover off of there. You didn't quite unclip the back one all the way. Now I can put the rest of this back together. We'll clip the base of the microphone into our headliner and plug it in. Plug in our speaker while we're there. We'll just put the cover over it. It just snaps in. Apparently they're not meant to come apart. Takes a little work. Plug in our other speaker and our light. Another light and another speaker. More speakers. And all the nonsense on our overhead console. And we have one more microphone. I'm going to pop it out of here. Back off. Now we can release the cover from the front. Put it all back together. And clip it in like we did our last one. Plug it in, reach underneath, snap the cover on. This one would have been a lot harder to cut out of the headliner. Did somebody order a pizza? I did. They didn't get a pizza. But I did get a little help, which is perfect because I need a little help to get this headliner in here, hopefully without destroying it. There's going to be a little folding and a little bending, but hopefully not enough to ruin it. Just going to take our time. Once we got it in there, we can start hooking up all of our washer lines, clipping them back in. Actually, our only washer line. Since we cheated and didn't take the C-pillar trim down, we got to tuck the headliner up underneath that, and then we can smash it up onto the roof, clip it in all of its clips. We'll start plugging in all the rest of our plugs for our harnesses. I'll reach back here and try to get this one. And once we got it all plugged in, we can start putting our trim pieces back in. Sneak this one up at the top, plug in our dome light, and smash it into the roof. Pull the gasket out that's trapped underneath. Clip our C-pillar trim in there. Guess it's our C and D pillar trim. Our upper quarter trim, let's call it that. Pull the gasket out that's trapped behind it. And put the lower piece in. We'll set our upper quarter trim in there. Plug in our speaker. Line up the unfriendly clip in the front. And clip in the rest of them. And then clip the bottom to it. And pull our gasket out. We can run the screws back in our seat release handle. Put those in there and then put the cap over it. Now we can put our little cargo hook back in here that we didn't really need to take out because we couldn't get the other one out. Well, the next guy will have no trouble getting this one out. Wait till he gets to the front one. We're going to snap our grab handles in. Told that they go in a lot easier than they come out. Pull our gasket out of there. Push our headliner up. I used to just push those grab handles in there and then put the little caps in afterwards, but I decided to try this way and see if it was a little easier. We're going to put the caps in first. Figure out which one goes where. Flip it in. Flip the one on the other side so it's fully assembled. My theory is we could just push it in there now and there's enough play in those little metal tabs that they'll fit through the hole and then expand and hold it in place. I'm guessing my theory is correct since I already did it once. And this method is a whole lot easier than snapping it up there and trying to put those little plastic pieces in when it's up over your head. And one last one. We're ready to throw our A-pillar trim up there. We'll plug our speaker in. And put the tabs down in the bottom of the dash. Line up all the clips. And smash it on there with our belt molding installation tool. Then we can put our door gasket back in. Flip in the speaker on this side. Slide it into the dash. Pull our door gasket out of the way. And smash it on there. We can put our door gasket back on. Plug in our sun visor. Stuff the wiring harness up there. Clip it in. Twist it and it locks back in. And the little clip just twists in. Plug in all of our rear view mirror and camera nonsense. And put the cover back over it. And then put the cover on. Plug in our passenger sun visor. Stuff the wiring harness up there. Put the base in and rotate it and lock it in. Just put the clip up there and rotate it and lock that in. Our sun visors are installed. And then go ahead and throw our B-pillar trim up. Couple of tabs at the top. We'll line up our seatbelt adjuster. And push our little clips in there. Push our door gasket back on. Now we can install the lower trim. Get our seatbelt out of there.
So that's as far as I'm going to be able to go for today. The painting gnome is shooing me off. He wants to get this thing painted all blue. So as soon as he's done, we'll be back to put it all back together and hopefully get it out on the road. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.